And this is the public access road that goes down to the old site of the ferry, the McGilvray Ferry. So I would imagine that the old hotel would have been up here somewhere. And it always makes me wonder, boy, this is a steep grade. It must have been real interesting getting, horses and wagons and different kind of things up and down this grade. But this is the old road that went down to bridge number 7, and prior to that, McGilvray's Ferry here in the town of Caledonia, right off of Sawmill Road.
See, it looks like a step up above.
Yeah, it does.
So
yeah.
The bridge probably from that step to this step is 250 feet.
Okay, now where are we, Jim?
Well, this is the end of the line, like
this is it, huh?
We were at this bridge number 1 on the other side of the river in La Crosse County. Now we're back home. We're safe.
We're in Trempealeau County again.
They won't be able to give us a ticket for being out of our jurisdiction. This is the remains of Bridge 7, the Clinton Bridge that was built in 1892, removed in 1954. I don't see a foundation on the far side, but here on the Trempealeau side yet there still is a walkway where you can come down. You can see where the bridge originally was set. There's steps there over the width of the bridge would have been about right.
Yeah. But this is the site of McGilvray's Ferry.
The ferry was here too. Okay. This was the original ford crossing over the Black River.
But they must have had the hotel up at the top, huh?
It had to be up on the level because they said there was quite a pull for the horses to come off the bridge to get up to the bank.
This is a steep hill.
But I said that the years have gone by and this one piece is left of our history that told of the old pioneer road that used to be here. Across the river yet, there's still a small bench where you can come when you walk from the 7 bridges down.
So over there is where, if we were walking from the La Crosse side, that's where it would end.
Where we come down from the other side, watch you stumble where you fall here.
You thought I was going to fall, it was you.
Watch your stumble where we fall. But like I said, there's the bench over there where the old pioneer road.
Yeah.
Like I said, some of the land here now, this is privately owned. The DNR's got it marked on that side. This particular strip we here on the Trempealeau side belongs to the town of Caledonia. The inn, the tavern, the small village that they were planning here in Caledonia that for some reason kind of failed, I guess at the end.
Gee, I wonder why.
the end of the ferry kind of dried up everything here, but there was a little dwellings were going to be started up here. They were planning on having a little bit of a town here at one time. But that all kind of fell apart, and that's not the only one we've lost. We've lost New City, and we lost Williamsburg and a few more of them towns.
But this one was fated to fail from the onset because this was back in the 1850s.
Yes.
And things must have been wild. Everybody was trying to get rich. They were buying land. They were selling it.
Yep.
It was just like the Wild West anyway.
And you got to remember, these people worked all day and they did make a whole lot of money. So there wasn't a lot of money going around. I said, you either came in here with a few coins in your pocket or you were pretty much one meal to the next, I mean, there wasn't a lot of money to go around. So I said, these people weren't overly rich, but I said, this road saved so much money for the farmers in the prairies. I said, they were able to get their products to Trempealeau down here to get it on the boat to get on the river, because everything you remember was water powered. There was no automotive vehicles until way in the 40s, and by that time this was discontinued and they built a newer bridge up here by Hunters, and we built the old one down, or the newer one down here by the Holman turnoff. So that one will be getting refixed. Hunter's Bridge was just done a few years ago. But I didn't bring my fishing pole, Nancy, and I said, I think we should have tried it. We just seen a boat go through a little bit.
Yeah, we did. A boat just went up the river as we're
and he
standing
didn't offer
here.
us a free fish dinner, so I don't know if he caught one or not. But I don't know. This would be an interesting place, I said, for people to come for a little bit of a Sunday tour.
Just
look
to
at the
see
history.
where McGilvray's Ferry actually was, and what the story on the little village. They had it all platted out. If you go up to the Register of Deeds, you can see the original plot. They had all kinds of. They had streets laid out. They had lots. And what they weren't taking into consideration is, it floods and the river moves.
Yes. The bottomlands walk back and forth because I said, because they are flat. The east part of the river, he said, sometimes there's not even water in it outside of a few springs. He said, but when the Black River gets high, all these bottoms take a beating. But it brought in the fertilizer, it allowed the hay to grow, the farmers pastured it. They did grow some crops in here, but that was kind of some years you get it and some years you won't, because if you get a late flood, you could lose everything you put in the bottoms too. So most of it was pasture and hayland.
And it was, of course, during the big log drives when it was coming down from Jackson County. And there were all these logs going down here. And finally so many that it almost put the ferry out of business because it just couldn't operate for weeks at a time.
Well, like I said, the friends here of the Seven Bridges, they got a little book here. I think Nancy will put a few pictures of that. She'll put in a website or an information how you can get that book. Or you can check it out from the Winding River Library system.
You bet. There's all kinds of options.
There's all kinds of books on early history of the counties. And just because it's not in Trempealeau County doesn't mean you can't sneak over here and take a peek at it. It's a nice little walk. I said family orientated. And even if you stumble like I do, you still can make it here, get back and forth, and enjoy a day along the river here.
Now, my uncle, who's 94, told me that, I think it was when he was a teenager in the 1930s, that the river had been a dry summer and the river had gotten kind of low. And he and his cousin, they were out on the river fishing, and they found all these logs that had been submerged from the log drives. They still had, the brands on them and everything. And so they spent all summer trying to get those logs raised and up and selling them, because that was really high quality wood.
Yeah, it was high quality old growth timber. It was fine timber. When you find a lot of old schoolhouses and the homes, the flooring was 3 inches wide, but you count the grains for every year that tree grew. It's just tremendous amount of years for just a little 2-3 inch strip.
Yeah.
There was such heavy timber growing at the time. Now everything, you look at a 2x4, it's a 1/4 inch in a year that's growing so fast, it's all plantation wood.
Yeah, and they did not log in Trempealeau County. It was in Jackson County. However, a lot of men from Trempealeau County would go to the woods in the winter to work in the log camps, and that's how they made the money to buy those farms and to, feed the family and keep things going. So that was a really, really important part of the economy.
They were pretty rugged men too, because I said, old Doc Duckendorf, I believe, was the chiropractor here in Arcadia, and he said that he had to put the men right on the floor. He said to jump on them to put something back into place. He said it was like breaking 2x6s. He said they were so muscle bound, you just couldn't move anything. He said they got out of joint. He said it took one heck of a jolt, he said, to put them back into place. He said so.
Okay, the log drivers, the lumberjacks, they were tough guys. Yes, yeah, and it was a very important part of this whole economy, and the fact that the logs coming down here to the sawmill, which is down kind of where the Black River and the Mississippi meet.
And La Crosse River. There were a number of mills in La Crosse that were milling lumber. Winona's built a lumber town. They claimed that it took them 500 years to cut the lumber out of Wisconsin. They did it in 50.
Yeah, and the amount of sawdust that there were. They used to call it, Eau Claire was called Sawdust City, because there was so much sawdust. Well, what did you do with it? They had 13 sawmills. What do you do with it? They said they dumped it in the streets for the most part.
Well, with that, Nancy, I think we'll encourage people, stop in the library, pick up a book, or better yet, buy a copy. I think they're only $15. Tells the history of the road, the people that worked on it, and the early days of pioneering here in Trempealeau and La Crosse County.
Yeah, no, I'm not going to fall in.
I didn't bring up poles, so stay back.
Too bad then, isn't it? The river is pretty high today. Wow. But this is a really, really steep grade.
It could be worse. We can still get up there. If we're on fours, we're in trouble, but because the bridge had to be higher. You can see where it is here, so the bridge, would have took off some of the slope off of this hill.
But the people that were coming off the ferry, that would have been tough.
Especially if you had an oxen team here and a little bit of goods in a wagon, it would have been a tough pull.
No kidding.
Some of this has probably been eroded away, redeposited, over the years how the river meanders back and forth.
Yeah,
so,
they do.
But still, there's 250 feet of doggone water here, and I wouldn't want to go across here without a ferry.
The Black River, and I grew up in Decorah Prairie, and we used to go swimming under the bridge. But the Black River, it was real contrary. One day you'd go down there and it was really deep. It'd be so deep and wild you couldn't swim. And a few days later it'd be sandbars and you could walk across it. So it's a real changeable river.
I believe that.
Yep.
With that, let's head back for town.
All right.
Time
we're
for
gonna walk
lunch.
back up this hill, hopefully. And this, like I say, is the spot of bridge number 7.
Number 7 for the end of the history files.
And where McGilvray's Ferry actually crossed. Alexander McGilvray was a pretty interesting guy. He had actually been born in the Highlands of Scotland, near the town of Inverness. The McGilvrays are a major clan in the Highlands of Scotland. They fought at the Battle of Culloden. They had their own tartan. So when he came to the United States, he came by way of Canada. He married a lady by the name of Catherine Rankin. He was described as being a very robust, energetic man, and he was noted for being very kind to the soldiers. About the time that he was running his ferry was during our American Civil War. So what you would like to do if you want to know more about Alexander McGilvray is to check out part 1 of our 7 Bridges and McGilvray Ferry History Files programs, because Jim Losinski and I discussed Alexander in part 1 as well. So check that out. But he was a very interesting person. They had their hotel here in what was at first the booming little village of Caledonia that pretty much got wiped out by floods and logs coming down the Black River.